right, welcome back for another episode of Hidden Gems. This is the video series where I talk about those little books that might have been overlooked or forgotten about that are still tucked away in those back issue bins, most likely at your LCS, maybe at some cons. These are not the hot 10 books. These are not the books that everybody's gravitating towards up on the wall. These are just kind of, like I said, ignored, sometimes underpriced, undervalued books that I think are worth keeping an eye out for, and things that you can find maybe hidden in those boxes that are actually worth more now than you might think. Just a wide selection of different options of some things that you should be keeping an eye out for when you're digging through those boxes. It doesn't always have to be dollar bin stuff. May they be in the dollar bin? Sure. But also dig through those priced back issues too. Don't neglect those, assuming that everything there is overpriced or not, worth your time to go flipping through. Because there's always stuff hidden away in those boxes if you know what you're looking for. Now, I'm trying to make recommendations to reach old collectors, new collectors, everybody. So if you know some of these, that's fine. But I'm trying to give the newer collectors some recommendations as well, and some really oddball things too for you old vets at digging through those boxes as well. So hopefully you like this series as well as everything else here on the channel. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Please like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing the channel. And if you want to see what books I want to cover this week, just hang on for a few seconds after the intro. I will be right back. All right, so with my newer format where I'm breaking these things out kind of into categories, we're going to start off with one of my favorite topics to cover. And this will be the quick artist retrospective. One of these days, I'm going to get back and do like a full-on artist retrospective again, where I do the full coverage on a particular artist. But for now, I'm kind of happy to do these quick little looks into some of my favorites. And this week, I want to talk about David Nakayama. Why do you know that name? One of the things that he's more recently known for is this super hot Apocalypse and the Extract variant. This 1 in 50 is insanely expensive, very hard to find, and it's just one of those books that a lot of people are keeping their eye out for these days. It's a gorgeous cover. I get it. I like it. This is one of the reasons you might know him. Also, you might know him from that familiar DNA signature. Like I said, he's a very nice guy. I got to talk to him on 3 Comic Money before with Nelms and Morello, and yeah, I'm a big fan. I love his art. I love the style. And you also might know some of the other things that he's done where he does that kind of I think he calls it color bleed, or it's not quite negative space, but it's pretty close. He did those cereal boxes, a lot of Marvel and some DC. I mean, a lot of DC and some Marvel for those cereal box covers. And then also those magazine style covers that he did for the Hellfire Club for the X-Men. That's another kind of a little niche that he is doing with some of the variants that he's worked on over the last couple of years. So these are some of the things you might know him for as well. Now, let's talk about his first work, or at least the first work that I could find out there, which is actually interiors. Not cover work to start. Interiors, way back in 2004. This Top Cow, I believe it was a web series, and then they collected it into a trade paperback. This Proximity Effect. We get interior arts by David Nakayama, but you can still see, the familiar style. You see it right there immediately from his first works. I mean, sometimes with artists, their early works look nothing like what they end up being, or at their initial work is them aping like a more popular artist of the time. Like a lot of the people who were doing the Jim Lee style back when Jim Lee was huge, or the Rob Liefeld if they worked, for one of his studios. But DNA, you can see here, Nakayama, his style is there. It's right there in the eyes from those early days. And like I said, this was initially a web comic, so all you can really find for this is a trade paperback. So it is what it is. It's a trade paperback if you want to go looking for it. And these things can sell for as cheap as a penny or $8.80. Buy it now. So, I mean, I think it has like a $10 cover on it. So MSRP. So you can probably find this thing for $10. If you go to a Barnes and Noble, maybe you can order it, or even on Amazon, you could probably order something like this. But if you want to go and hunt on eBay, look, you can get it for as cheap as a penny, and then you just got to pay shipping. And then again, you see those available copies, $8, $10, $12. I mean, it's not an expensive thing, but he did do the interiors. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, for whatever reason, this kept coming up in a lot of other places. And I was like, I was planning on talking about this too. His first cover work. His first cover work was this Revved, the beginning issue from Image Comics. Credit to my buddy Phil, Vintage Comics and Toys, for reaching out to David and ask him about this book, and he confirmed, yeah, this is his first cover, but he's not a fan of it. He's not a fan of his first cover work, but hey, it is what it is. I remember we found this book like a long time ago. I think, but I still think it was Phil who pointed this out to me. And I was like, oh yeah, and I went to my comic shop, and I think I bought like 2 copies because they're like super duper cheap. And I was like, you know what? I like collecting artists' early work and their first works. So that's the kind of thing I like doing anyway. And especially if it's really cheap. So I remember when Phil and I were talking about it again, this was like last year or even further back. So had this one in the back burner for a while, but it came up, like I said, it came up again recently for one reason or another. And this is a book that, again, you could find out there for $4. It's selling for $2. It's not expensive. It's really not that expensive. It's Fast and the Furious style thing that they're going for back in, was it 2006, I believe? And you can even see his signature back then. It was just the DN. He didn't add the DNA to it. So it was just back in the original DN days for David Nakayama. But this was his first cover. Whether he doesn't like it all that much, but this was it, and he confirmed it. And you can see even copies available right now. Mostly, or they're like $2. You can get these online for $2. And look, my comic shop, yeah, $2. And there's one out there for almost $20, so there's that too. So there are some people who are early speculating now on early David Nakayama work. So just get ahead of the curve and go get it for super cheap if you're interested. Now, as I said, I want to cover a few things. There's so many covers that we could do with David Nakayama's work, but I just decided to kind of focus in on some weird little spots for you to go, go dig for. Because it might be people aren't thinking about it right now. And one of those things people aren't thinking about right now, but it was hot at one time, was Big Hero 6. It was a pretty cool movie. I still like it. I still think it holds up. I know there's been animated series since then, but not a lot going on for Big Hero 6 lately. So this is the kind of thing that could be tucked away in a box, just ignored now because nobody's looking for it, because there's no big news. There's no like sequel movie coming like anytime soon that everybody's getting all hyped for. So this is kind of a lull for the Big Hero 6, I guess, fans. So if you like that series and that project, also look for just the art, because this is some pretty cool art, again, from David Nakayama. This is the regular cover A, I believe, for issue 1. He also did a B cover for it as well. And then, other issues in this series, like there's issue 2. Really cool stuff. I love how it's kind of laid out, different layouts, playing with the format of the cover a little bit here throughout the series. It's not all just standard comic book fare. And then you can see some more of the issues here with issues 3, 4, and 5. This is a 5-issue series in total, so keep an eye out for all those issues. And you can see here by what's actually selling. Issue 1 could sell from anywhere from like $30 to like $75. But at the same time, you can also see the complete series could also sell for like $60 total. So it's a kind of a wild ride for asks. Oh, I'm sorry, that's $75, not number 1. That's the complete series. So the complete series is $60 or $75. Just issue 1 alone is like $27. And I think a lot of the individual issues also could be in that like $10 to $15 range a lot of times too, which you can see if you look at what's available. Some $5, $30, $35. It depends. First issue is going to command that extra bit of a premium, but all of the issues are just worth looking for, especially if you can find them for super cheap. Maybe you find them for cover price in a back issue bin somewhere because nobody bothered to price Big Hero 6 issue 4. And it's up to you if you want to pick it up for that. I'm just pointing these things out because I think they're kind of cool. Now, the other thing that I do like out of David Nakayama's work is he's actually done some Zenescope stuff. I know Zenescope could be like a dirty word for a lot of people out there because the covers can be a little bit more on the risque side, but some of them are just gorgeous work. If you ask me. And some of these Grim Fairy Tale variants, especially these convention exclusives, they're interesting and they're pretty tough because the print runs are pretty low. This is one of his early ones from 2008. I think it was New York Comic Con, issue 26 of Grim Fairy Tales. You get this pretty cool mermaid on the cover there. And I'm just showing you this there because I found the pencil sketch. Like, this is another time where usually I don't like the pencil sketches or the black and white versions, but this is pretty nice. This is pretty solid, if you ask me. So this is a pretty good rendition here in the black and white. I almost like it better than the color version, which is an odd thing, for me. But here it is. This one, you can see 9/8 sold for like $75 on this. This again, New York Comic Con limited edition. I think these things get limited to just like a couple hundred copies in a lot of cases. Available copies on this 9/8, only $45 or $20 for one raw. And then another one I really like is I like this Motor City. I think I've shown this one before. This Motor City Comic Con from 2016. This was limited to 500. Pretty cool with the Detroit Lions t-shirt. I like the old school Lions. I was a Barry Sanders fan back in the day. And just some of the other ones that he's done are also just worth noting and keep an eye out for. Again, some of these things are super limited. From MegaCon, the C2E2, just some fun and cool stuff, if you ask me. Just covers that I like. But focusing in on that Motor City one, this thing, again, could sell for $50. Not too bad. Not too bad for a recent sale of that. This one could be kind of tough to find. A lot don't come up very often. And right now we have two. One's asking 160 raw and 185 for a 9.8. So those are the only two options on the market right now. So this is one of those things that it just doesn't come up a lot. I mean, it's limited to 500. Pretty cool. I love the Honolulu blue from the Detroit Lions. So it's definitely, it looks gorgeous in person. Like I said, I do have this one because I'm a fan of David Nakayama's work. So I got a lot of his books here. But that said, that's the end of my short little artist retrospective talking about David Nakayama's covers. He's got a ton more I could have covered and done, from the X-Men 92 stuff, which is really fun. He's also done work on like handheld games. Like some of the games you play will have art that's his. The box art on some X-Men Legends is his art as well. He's done a lot of stuff for a lot of different mediums outside of his comics too. Definitely go check it out. Look into it more. Again, I'll eventually get around to doing like a full retrospective where we cover all that kind of stuff one of these days, but this is my little quick dip into the David Nakayama stuff for now. So let's move on to our next segment, which is going to be later prints. So with the later printings, we're going to be talking about those second prints, those third prints, fourth, fifth, yada, yada. However high the print run decides to go. But still tying in with our David Nakayama start, we're going to start with David Nakayama second print. And this second print is for the Secret Wars, Secret Love, this one-shot little thing that they had. Cover looks almost identical to the first print. Only difference is it does say second printing way up here next to the number. So the only difference you're going to find really between. I saw some images where it looked like the trade dress might be a different shade of like yellow gold or whatever. It's hard to tell if that's just pictures or not, but ultimately just this little notation of second print is really the only thing that's going to tip you off on this one, because even the barcode doesn't do the normal barcode rules for this with the 2 down there. But that's it. So the Secret Wars, Secret Love, issue 2, David Nakayama cover. I love the Ben-Day dots, the old classic look of this image. If you don't know what I'm talking about, this is the old school comic book print where they, color by doing the dots. That's what Ben-Day dots are. They also did that recently in crossover as well. And I like it. I don't know. It's kind of a fun little callback. But that said, what does this thing sell for? So keep an eye out for it, because if you find it, this thing could sell for a pretty decent amount. $20 is not too bad for a second print. You might be able to just pull out of a back issue box or even up on a wall that's just not been tended to in a while. And if you want to look at what asking prices are, well, asking prices are actually pretty high. With copies asking $65, $100, $200 on this. I mean, you can ask what you want to ask. That's what it is. So if you were looking to buy one of these right now, that's what your market is looking like. While copies might have sold just in the last couple of weeks for just $20, the copies that are left right now are much, much more expensive. So factor that into your decisions too when you're at a shop and you see this book potentially. Again, if you're looking at it, it's like $5, it's cover. That's what I'm talking about, knowing what it is. Now, if you go to a shop and this thing's priced $30 or $40, I'm not saying you should buy that. That's up to you what you want to do. These are the numbers that help you make that decision of what it's actually selling for, what other asking prices are. But that's your call. Now, we're going to move on to another DNA second print to look at. And this is for the Unbelievable Gwenpool, number 21. Now, this was one of those... I don't want to say holofoil. Why am I blanking on what they are called? Those lenticular covers where it kind of change, and you see like the classic cover, the homage, and then the new cover, and it kind of changes back and forth. That's what the first prints were. The second print was basically that art underneath without the lenticular, pizzazz added to it. So that's what this, second print is here with, you got the pretty cool Doom there facing off against Gwenpool. Pretty fun little cover. This, again, another book that you should be mindful of, because while recent copies are sold for only like $10, $11, the asking prices are starting to tick up, and that's what I'm talking about here. You got to, even though recent copies might have sold for certain amounts, once the market hits a certain point, that's the new playing field. So if you want to buy one of those, you got to play at those prices or convince somebody to take less or bid or whatever you want to do. But until a cheaper copy comes up, that's really all your options. So you're looking more in that $40 to $50 range right now of what's left. So while it might have sold in the last few weeks for like $10, $11, those ones are pretty much gone now. So this is what's left. And that's what I wanted to cover for my later printing segment there. Just a couple of Nakayama books, just to kind of wrap that up a bit while we shift on over to some nostalgia. I like doing some nostalgia picks just to kind of, you know, look back at the stuff I used to love and love to watch. And we're going to hit up a little bit of gargoyles. I know I've talked about gargoyles before on other segments, other shows. Dollar bin digging, I know I've mentioned that before, and things you should just be paying attention to. And the original Marvel Gargoyles run is one I would grab any. If you find any of them at this point, I would consider them if they're cheap enough. Especially if absolutely dollar bin, get any you can. Buy any you can find for $1, I would say. But outside of that, depending on the price, consider it. This is issue 1, which has gotten pretty pricey the last year or two, I would say. And then issue 2 runs only up through issue 9, which is another tough one to go and find. So just be mindful of these prices when you're out there. So if you do find them in a shop and they may be priced, maybe they're priced for very cheap, and maybe you can get a deal because issue 1 could sell for, as you can see, $50. Issue 5, which is just one of a random example in the middle, almost $30 for issue 5. And then you got issue 9, like I said, which is the last issue. And granted, they're saying that one's a newsstand. That's $100, $100 for that final issue. So keep that in mind if you are digging in through a box. You might find, again, this is a animated cartoon series, so this might be in a kids section. This might be like in a throwaway box at a shop somewhere. So dig, go look. Maybe you can luck out and find some of these hidden treasures, these little hidden gems tucked away out there. Because if you want to go hunting for this online, it's going to cost you a bit. You can see issue 9, another newsstand, $110 is what they're asking for. Issue 1, they're asking $60. And then again, in issue 2, just as a random example of another issue of the series, $16 plus shipping. So any of these books could be anywhere from $15 to $30 in the middle, and then high end issues 1 and 9, anywhere from like the $60 to $100. So keep those prices in mind in case you find them in a shop. Their cover price is $4, they're $5. Maybe you think about buying them because maybe that's a good deal, depending on condition and all of that. But it's just something to pay attention to. And this was the original Marvel run. Like I said, was from the 90s, I believe, because slave labor graphics picked up the property in the 2000s. And these are other ones you should probably be aware of because these ones are also not that easy to find. This is a cover for issue 1. This one, I think, ran only 8 issues. There's issue 3, and then the final issue, issue 8, there as well, as they're still promoting it, based on the hit Disney series, the animated series. So keep an eye out for these ones too. With that said, what does this thing sell for? Issue 1 can sell for like $30, and then random issue 4, $20. Final issue 8 selling for like $30. So these are still $20 to $30 books. Like any issue, basically, it looks like that's what the sale prices are going for. And if you want to look at what's available, that's kind of the asking prices too, with issue 5 up at the top. Just again, random examples, $30. Issue 6, $17. And then issue 1, they want $60. Issue 1s and final issues generally command a premium, so it's to be expected. But if you find them in a shop at a decent price, consider it that's what the market is on these books right now. So Gargoyles is the little book that I wanted to dip into for the nostalgia's sake. Though I'm kind of dragging my nostalgia into the next segment, which is actually going to be variants. Because one could argue this is a little bit nostalgic too. And this is my Danger Girl G.I. Joe crossover books. Some pretty cool Campbell covers here. But the reason why we have these in variants, this is the regular cover A. But the 1 in 10s, which again, not a very high incentive. That's why I'm covering them here on Hidden Gems and not putting them in something like more like Chasing Ghosts or whatever, because 1 in 10 is a low enough incentive that a lot of shops might have copies of these out there. So they could still be in boxes and back issue boxes. It could be in a variant box if your shop does that kind of thing where they have a box of variants. dig, go look and see what they might have, because some of these are actually pretty cool. Again, this is the cover A for issue 1. So the 1 in 10 is just a black and white sketch of it. I know I've mentioned it before. I'm not a huge fan of the black and white sketches, but yeah, the Campbells aren't too bad. It's kind of interesting to see his sketches underneath, but definitely worth being mindful of them in case you're out there shopping. That's issue 1 of the G.I. Joe Danger Girl crossover. And then through the next 3 issues, issues 2, 3, and 4, they come together to form a nice little connecting cover set, which is pretty cool, including issue 2 there, which is one of the very few variants. I know I think I covered this before. One of the few variant issues for Lady J, where you're going to get a variant with Lady J on the cover. And there's still supposedly a rumor that we're going to get some sort of show that's going to be focused in on the G.I. Joe character of Lady J as, I guess, the main protagonist. But, you know, they'll obviously bleed into other Joe stuff as well. But that was the rumor a while back. I think it's still happening. I don't know. I haven't heard anything on it for a while. I think it might have been attached to Amazon, but, you know, we'll see if that ever comes to fruition or not. But keep an eye on this kind of stuff, because, again, this is not the super hot stuff that everybody else is looking for. So maybe you can go find this tucked away in a box for just a few bucks. And then, as I said, that's issues 2, 3, and 4. And then the final issue, issue 5, also has another Campbell sketch cover as well. That kind of looks more like a mirror image to that issue 1. So while the middle 3 connect, it looks like we're getting sort of a mirror on the bookends of 1 and 5. Again, this is the RI cover for a 1 in 10. Ballpark numbers and average amounts. These things could be as cheap as $5 to $10. $5 to $10 these things can still just sell for. And again, they're 1 in 10, so it's not a high incentive ratio. There could be plenty of these out there, but $5 to $10 ain't too bad. You look at what's available though, the asking prices, $35, $55, $140 for a set that's issues 2, 3, and 4. So $140 to get those 3 together. So those are still in that $40 to $50 range each. Getting a little bit pricey with some of these asks. So keep that in mind. Yes, cheap copies might pop up online. So be aware of them. Keep them on your watch list. Maybe you can go sneak one when they do pop up. But currently, at least, the asking prices are much higher than what's actually sold. So just keep that in mind. Now, I mentioned these as the 1 in 10s, but a couple of these issues actually just had B covers that are much more desired and pretty awesome, if you ask me. I did pay up to get these because I really did like these. And the first one being issue 2. This is a B cover. This is not an incentive from what I gathered. And despite many listings listing this as like 1 in 25 and all that, I'm pretty sure most of the research I've read to confirm is this was just a B cover. Now, who knows how many were ordered by shops, because that's one of those things. Just because it's a B cover doesn't mean it's all things are equal. Doesn't mean there's just as many copies of this as there are of issue 1. There's no real way to tell, to be certain. So just keep that in mind. But I think this thing is gorgeous. Again, it's Campbell cover, Scarlet, really cool. Recent sale on this one, because you can see it just says cover B. It's not the RI. It says cover B on it right there at the top. Just again, to reiterate that fact. It's a cover B. It is not an incentive, because if it were, IDW marks their incentives with RI. But almost $200. So almost $200, and that's a 9.6 that sold at the beginning of May. So a few weeks ago, almost $200 for a 9.6. And market, well, you can get a raw for 80, or a couple of there's a 9.8 for 225, or I do kind of like the pair. It looks like a 9.8 and a 9.6, because that's kind of teasing our next book when you have that set, that $600 set. So let's just get right into the next book, because here for issue 2, we have Scarlet. Issue 3 is just as good. You get this Baroness cover. It's awesome. I don't know. I like Campbell. I know a lot, he can be pretty divisive with some people out there that don't like the art. They think it's just too much. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't, it's not the structure. Human body doesn't do that. I get it, but it's comic books, guys. I like it. Initial impressions. I look at this. I go, I like this cover. That's it. That's the gut reaction I get, and that's why I went and bought one. That said, what does this thing sell for? Issue 3, it's like a 259.8 on somebody actually. I want to say stole it, but under $40 for a raw copy back in March ain't bad, because I was looking for this one for a while, and I don't remember what I paid, but I know I paid more than that. So keep that in mind as well. If you're out there hunting and looking for this one, could be kind of tough, because again, it's pretty gorgeous. Again, if you ask me. 9/8 on the market right now, about $300. And again, that pair, that set with a 9/8 of this issue 3 and a 9/6 of issue 2, $600. So definitely not cheap, and definitely not an easy one to go and find. But hey, you never know. You never know what you might find at a shop, either near you or if you happen to be traveling. It's summertime after all. A lot of people do traveling, so look up for local comic shops wherever you're visiting family somewhere. Go see if there's a shop that you can hit up and you say, you know what, can I sneak out, honey? Can I sneak away for like an hour and go just check a shop out? Because hey, you never know what you might find. Uh, that said, I'm going to kind of hang on to this nostalgia and hang on to G.I. Joe a little bit, but we're going to move into a new category that I haven't done yet on this show, this new segment. This is oddities. And the reason why I call this oddities, because this is going to be stuff that's just not your normal comic book fare. Maybe it could be some magazines, mini comics, oddball things like that. And the first being these oversized UK books, Action Force. I love finding these things. You can sometimes find these out of flea markets. I don't know how they get them here. I mean, again, these are the UK. They're oversized. They're almost magazine size. They are very, very flimsy. Like the paper is very, very thin. The cover is not much thicker than the actual interior paper. They're very delicate. So, and very, like I said, very, very thin. So they unforgiving. These things can get crinkled and crushed to no end. So keep that in mind, but don't let that scare you away because these are still some cool books. Granted, it's just kind of a reprint of the Marvel run, but in this different format and kind of broken up into smaller chunks. And that's what I'm saying. These are very thin. So, like one issue of the Marvel book would be cut up into like 2 or 3 of these Action Force titles or Action Force magazines. I don't know what you want to call them, but these UK books are still really, really cool. And you can see here, Flint is featured up. Duke is not the hero initially of this. It's Flint, especially over there. Flint is the guy, not Duke. So Flint on the cover with Lady J. This action-packed first issue of Action Force is one. Yeah, obviously it's issue 1. So you want to keep an eye out for issue 1 if you can find it. There's a 2-pack. Look, you get 2 comics for the price of 1. It looks like it's bundled in a little poly bag of some kind, and it's like $30 online. And there are copies available. Look, 15, 35, or you can get it singly separate there for $13. So not super duper expensive, but just something kind of fun to find because I found these things in like 50-cent piles, or you just get, I'll take the whole stack for like $2 and that kind of thing. Flea markets, yard sales. You look for the odd stuff. And that's why this is an oddities. This is not going to fit in a comic book box because, again, it's an odd size. This is going to be stuck with the magazines. Maybe it's with old Entertainment Weeklies mixed in with other inserts and giveaways. But these UK books are definitely pretty cool. And I definitely would keep an eye out for, especially the Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow ones. So just to give you some examples of things that you should just be aware of, because I think the run ran only like 50 issues or so. But throughout it, here we got this pair of issues 11 and 12. Not quite connecting or anything like that, but they kind of go together because, again, these are issues are split up across multiple Action Forces. It was one book from the G.I. Joe Marvel side, but this Snake Eyes Storm Shadow pair is definitely one that I would keep an eye out for, along with this other one. This was 37 and 38. So again, try to do a little bit of a mirror kind of like action on these. And just to give you an example, while we're going through this, so how some of these can do, like this pair, $50, sold on May 20th. So $50 for those 2. Not too bad. And the market, what's out there right now, issue 37 on its own, about 25, or there's a lot that has issue 38 in it for a little over 30. So you can't get the 2 like the last one pretty easily. Sometimes you got to piece these things together because even on eBay, you might find lots. And that's definitely something to keep an eye out for as well. So maybe you can get some of these really cool, more sought after issues by buying a lot of just old school Action Force books. And G.I. Joe's not the only one to have those UK type books. I mean, we can get into more of that later, but just to kind of dip our toe into that water, into the, across the pond of what they have over there in my oddities section, let's just look at a couple of more. Like these 2 jump out at you because they're bright yellow. They kind of connect with that little the tiger image there in between. This is issues 40 and 41. Again, another set you want to be mindful of in case you find it out there because it can do all right. Granted, issue 22 and 40. Somebody bought, again, a paired up little lot of $15, or best offer on $20 for the other one. but asking prices, $25 to $20 is what we're kind of looking at. But there's no copies of the Storm Shadow one out there right now that I could find. So it's a weird thing. Like, you're not always going to find copies of these things available at all times if you're doing your eBay hunting. So that's why I'm telling you, just keep it in your mental Rolodex for any time you find yourself looking through weird magazine piles, stacks of magazine boxes. You may find these types of things. And again, they're very flimsy, so be very careful. And they can easily be overlooked because you just flip with a full magazine, just these couple of pages, because these are, again, like 10 pages, if that. Really not a lot. They're very, very thin. I should have grabbed one out to show you, but too late now. We're already in the midst of recording, and we're almost done. So we'll wrap it up with our final issue of Action Force, which, again, last issues. I've talked about it enough. Last issues. Issue 50. Pretty cool Destro cover. Another one you want to be looking for because it does better than most. So $65 for this entire lot. Somebody got a steal for that. I think that's a great buy. $65 to get all issues 1 through 50. I think that's a great deal. You're basically paying just over $1 each. I think that was a good deal for whoever bought that. That was on May 6th, too. I missed that one bid. I wish I was paying attention. I miss out on a lot of things like this just because I decided to look into it just a little bit too late. Otherwise, you might have seen me buying this and telling you how I just bought this, but I didn't, unfortunately for me. But on its own, you can see this issue is asking $35 to $45. So $35 to $45 just for issue 50. And I showed you some other ones that are worth a few extra bucks. So to think, whoever got that entire run for $65. I mean, granted, I don't know the condition of it right now offhand. I'm going to have to look into it. But a lot of these are not in great shape. So keep that in mind as well. Now, I do have one more oddity for you. It's kind of like a weird collected edition reprint, but it does have a pretty awesome cover. And this one was shared by our buddy Justin Shannon, who shared this one with me through IG. And this is Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility. Issue 5 of 7. The thing that grabs you is the McFarlane cover. It's reused McFarlane art. I believe from interiors. I think this was an interior of one of those early Spider-Man issues. I can't remember which one might be even issue 1. But reused McFarlane art to do the cover for this. And this is a reprint edition for what is it? Web of Spider-Man 31, Spider-Man number 1, which I mentioned, and Amazing Spider-Man 334. So it's like a little 3-pack of books just reprinted to kind of cover for this 7-issue series for Spider-Man, where they just kind of reprinted some older Spider-Man issues, I guess, to kind of catch you up. Bring in new readers, I guess. But this is one of those odd McFarlane covers that a lot of people like to go and hunt. And Justin shared with me because he bought this one that I'm going to share with you, which is actually a newsstand. It's $35 just on May 24th. Not bad. I think it's a good pickup for this because a newsstand of this thing, that's not going to be easy to find, you know? And if you want to go looking for this thing, well, I even considered putting this on Ghosts for tomorrow, but I decided here as more of an oddity, it fit a little bit better because there are none up there right now. So if you want to go looking for one too, there's none available, but who knows what could be buried in a box at a shop by you. So keep that in mind. Keep these oddities in mind as well. Let me know what you think. And hopefully you enjoyed that. Hopefully you enjoyed some of these oddball picks and things I'm throwing at you. I know sometimes it can be a little bit redundant because I've talked about these things before on other shows, but a lot of times I talked about it like 2 years ago. So me reminding maybe newer viewers about gargoyles, doesn't seem too redundant because I'm still looking for gargoyles. But thank you all again for stopping by and checking this out. I really appreciate you all. Hopefully you you like this series and you like the content here on Rennavision. Let me know in the comments what you think. Make suggestions. Throw me ideas. Show me some cool stuff that you've picked up and that you've bought. Because like I said, look, Justin shared that one with me and I put it on the show because I thought it was pretty interesting. So I'm throwing it out to the rest of you so you guys are all aware of that book too. It was a new book to me. So now it may be a new book to some of you as well. And now with awareness, maybe we see some more of these come to light and people can add these things to their collections, hopefully for a cheap price, hopefully for a decent price. That all said, thanks again for checking this out. I'll be back with Chasing Ghosts tomorrow, and I will see you guys all later.